my name is Emma Halibert. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the 3 career ambassadors here at the Warner College of Natural Resources. And today we have Sammy with us from Trees, Water, and People for a career conversation. And this is part of our monthly Employer Spotlight series for November. So it's just to help us get to know trees, water, and people a little bit better. So the first question that we wanted to ask you is just if you could tell us your name and give us a brief overview of your organization and what kind of work you guys do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Emma. And we're really happy to be part of the spotlight for this month of November. My name is Samantha Loth. I also go by Sammy. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'm the grants manager for Trees, Water, and People. And so Trees, Water, and People is a local nonprofit that works out of Fort Collins. We're actually right across the street from CSU. And we have a really close relationship with the university. And so we operate across the Americas. This is where we're working with local communities and grassroots organizations to improve the lives of these communities by helping them protect, conserve, and manage the natural resources on which their livelihoods depend. So we work on indigenous lands in the United States, and these are the Ute Mountain Ute tribe in southwestern Colorado, on Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, and also with 3 pueblos in New Mexico. And then we also work internationally in Central America with communities of indigenous and smallholder farmers in Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. And so as grants manager, I work really closely with our program staff through our Indigenous Lands program and our Central American program to partner with funding organizations that help to fund the work that we do. And so I work really closely with program staff to draft and write these grant applications that we turn in to these foundations and federal and state agencies to get funding for our work. And then that also means like kind of prospecting these relationships with these funders, building up trust with them, sharing our work. And then also when it comes time, if we receive the money, sending in reports to kind of update them on the progress of what's going on the ground. And so primarily what TWP believes in is we believe that natural resources are best protected when local people lead, economically benefit from, and actively participate in their care and management. And so especially in the face of climate change, we work to improve the lifeways of Indigenous and marginalized communities. And so we're working towards their goals and their vision and locally led solutions for a better future. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And so in your opinion, what is it like working in the nonprofit sectors, and what are some of the bigger challenges and rewards of your work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Trees, Water, and People is a really small, tight-knit nonprofit. So we only actually have a staff of about 12 people that are based in Fort Collins, and then 1 who's also based in Central America. And we work with a couple of contractors and partners in these grassroots organizations that are locally based in communities as well. So a lot of what our work entails is that it's like all this multi-jurisdictional collaboration. We work as a convener that brings together partners in these regions, and then we're helping to leverage these monies and tools and resources for these communities to work together to achieve our joint goals. And so working at a nonprofit is all about staying true to your mission, pitching your work to everyone. So whether this is like donors or funding organizations or new partners that you want to partner with, it's all about showcasing your work. So there's a lot of that entailed in it. And then it's also such an adaptable environment. Like, you know, no day is ever the same. Mm-hmm. It's so unpredictable. I mean, we're working within the nexus of a changing climate, and like ebbs and flows with politics and administration, both in the US and also in Central America. Mm-hmm. And so this is like kind of like disaster oriented a lot of the times what we do, because we're working with communities that are so vulnerable to these changes. So that's both a challenge and a reward, I would say. It really depends on how you look at it, like how adaptable and unpredictable the environment is that we work in. So it's all about your mindset, how you view that. And then, it like differs for each nonprofit what this looks like exactly. This unpredictable environment, ours is very specific to Indigenous communities and farming communities in Central America. But so, we care so much about each other, both within our staff and then also our partners on the ground too. Like, we're always looking out for each other. We're such a tight-knit group of people that, especially during the COVID pandemic, we all were there for one another, and trying to be like really mindful of like what each one of us was going through. So my boss actually had this really good policy. He called it Dear God, which is drop everything and get outside, God damn it. And so it was like when you just couldn't stare at the computer screen, you couldn't take another Zoom session, you just drop everything, go outside, get away from it all, clear your mind. And that was especially handy when we were both dealing with COVID, and then also these two major hurricanes hit in Central America, Eta and Iota. So there was a lot going on at once. So, but we try to keep it really like high key at TWP. We have flexible working hours and pay increases to match the standard of living in Fort Collins. So there's a lot of benefits to working in this environment. We also have these wonderful furry friends that are always at the office. Each one of us is always sending photos of our pets, and we bring them into the office as well. If we don't, our finance director will actually fire us. Just kidding, but it's a really awesome environment to work in.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like it. So could you help us understand how students here at CSU can prepare themselves for a career in nonprofits or with your organizations? And are there any specific skills or experiences that are good to gain if you're trying to move into the nonprofit sector?
So it's kind of harder to get in with a smaller nonprofit, just because of how limited resources can be. So you really want to intimately get to know the staff that are at the organization that you're interested in. And if that's TWP, that's like hitting us up, volunteering at events. We've started holding events again, with like COVID restrictions, being careful about everything like that. But it's all about kind of networking with these organizations, interning with them, getting to know them on a really close basis, and just showing up and showing what you're passionate for. There's so much to do with an organization like this that you can cater a volunteership or internship to your needs and your interests. And we're really open to working with students since we are so close to CSU. We have such a great relationship. And it's also good to find out, like, through these opportunities, like what you like, whether this is a really good fit for you, and kind of what you're looking for as well. And we wear so many hats within our organization because we are small at 12 people. So you have to have a lot of knowledge in different kind of areas. So that plays really well. If you have skills in like marketing, communications, I came in with some writing experience. So then the grant writer at the time was able to kind of take me under his wing and like teach me the ropes of working within budgets and finance and everything having to do with that. So it's really kind of getting to know the ins and outs of what working for a nonprofit is like, and kind of learning all of the different roles that you can play within one.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And so could you tell us a little bit more about both volunteering and interning with Trees, Water, and People, and what kind of work volunteers or interns could expect to do?
Yeah, and I also bring a really unique perspective because I started out as an intern myself while I was still going to school at CSU.
Yeah.
And actually a lot of our staff started out as interns, like including our executive director and our international director and other people in our programs. So it's really great to kind of get your feet in the door, your feet wet, boots on the ground, getting the experience through these internships and volunteerships. And so kind of what that looks like is it varies between the needs of each department and then also your needs as a student as well. So I started my internship back in 2018 when I was a sophomore, I believe. Yeah, sophomore. And so I was an intern since sophomore to senior year. And actually my senior year, I came on part-time. And then when I graduated, came on full-time with the organization. And so usually when we have like specific calls for interns, we'll put it out like during the beginning of the fall or spring semester. So you can do it for one semester to complete credits that you need at CSU or just to gain that experience. And you can continue on if you're really liking it, if there's a need for that in the department that you're interning with. So, you know, these internships vary. So when I came on, I was working with the development team. And so this involved a lot of event planning and fundraising, calling up donors and thanking them for sending in money and getting to know people at these events and kind of networking with these different communities local to Fort Collins. So I gave a lot of presentations to students both at CSU and local high schools in the region. And then once I kind of got more into the grant side of things, it was a whole lot more of that grant writing, you know, like when foundations issue these like requests for proposals, you're helping to write these letters of intent and then these proposals and budgets as well. And prospecting funders by like thinking about what TWP, our mission is, and then what the foundation's mission as well, and seeing if those align at all. So that's kind of that. We've also had interns that have done photography and videography work for us. We just recently put together a documentary of our reforestation work in Pine Ridge. And so we had an intern that was local to that area and native as well that helped to put that together with our Marcom staff. And so, you know, like interns come from all walks of life. Like we've had psychology interns to help put together surveys for our programs. And we've had interns as well that have helped with the, I forget exactly the name of the trips that are through CSU, but we have TWP Tours, which is like a branch of Trees, Water, and People that helps take students and community members to the communities. And so we have one that's lined up to Pine Ridge Reservation that's directly linked with CSU. So we've had interns that have gone and helped on those trips and helped with the work itself on the ground.
Okay, cool. And then lastly, is there any advice that you have for students here who are looking to work for Trees, Water, and People or another nonprofit?
Yeah, just kind of touching base on what I touched on earlier, you know, like get to know us really well. So whether that's through like events, if you're like kind of up to date with like what we're doing, or if you have interest in helping out in events in the future, or like specific like interests with like one of our programs, like please just send us an email. We've actually started opening our doors back up again to the public. And we're just like right across the street from CSU. So give us a call, reach out. We're happy to work with you on your interests and like getting to know TWP better. I'd also say staying up to date on like current events on what's going on both in Central America and tribal lands.
Yeah.
I have these notifications set through Google, which is like links to news articles and all these like newly published articles that are put out there. And so kind of staying up to date with everything that's going on. And it's a lot of information all of the time, but just whatever your interests are, whether that's like with Trees, Water, and People and what we do, or with another nonprofit that you're interested in, like find out what their programs are and just start like researching like what's going on in those areas that we're working in. There's also a really helpful website that if you're looking for career opportunities that I've come across, it's through the Colorado Nonprofit Association.
Okay.
And so that's really handy if you're looking to stay local in Colorado. I'm not sure if they post internships, but they definitely post career opportunities. So it's really helpful to get to know what they're looking for when they post these jobs, and kind of tailoring like what you take in your classes and understanding how like your interests and like your experience lines up with what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sammy, so much for sharing your insight, not only into Trees, Water, and People, but also the nonprofit sector, and offering such great advice for our students here. There has been so much interest over the past month in Trees, Water, and People, and so we really do appreciate your engagement a lot. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Of course, thank you so much for having me, Emma. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and talking about what we do at TWP. So hope this was helpful to everyone who views this video. And yeah, we're just so excited to be able to partner with CSU at such a close level that we do. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.